It might not have been the pay-per-view event that we paid for, but we cheered our heroes, we booed our villains, and I still think it was the BNR announcement of the year. Everyone, this is Nikachu, Merfolk Master and Streamer, and the BNR announcement that banned Arcum's Astrolabe and basically did nothing in Pioneer has been the talk of the town recently, and it's going to have an effect probably for the rest of the year. But before we get into all of that, let's just start off with the pony format. Oh, Popper got to see some bans. Expedition map is banned. Take that, Tron. I mean, from an outside perspective, I think like Popper looks outrageously unbalanced. When I look at the meta share of winning decks, it's like all absorbed into basically 3 archetypes, one of them being Tron. So yeah, Expedition map getting a ban doesn't seem so unusual. And also Mystic Sanctuary got banned. Apparently, you can loop this thing with Deprive and other cards that draw cards, so that ended up getting the axe. I don't really care very much. Let's move on. So moving on to Historic, everything that was suspended did get banned. That was correctly prophesized, things like Fire of Invention and Winota. So the new news is that Nexus of Fate, which was being used in the Wilderness Reclamation decks, is banned. Not suspended, straight banned. Get the fuck out of here, Nexus of Fate. And I think this is just basically Wizards of the Coast acknowledging, look, we fucked up with this card. This card is bullshit. We're gonna ban it and it's gone. This card has been part of so many controversies in the past between, the foil-only versions in paper and the looping of this card in a winless condition Nexus deck, that they said, you know what, this has always been a problem, let's just get rid of it. If it's not a big problem today, it's most certainly going to be a problem somewhere in the future. It's been banned. But Burning Tree Emissary being put on the suspend list, it's sort of Wizards acknowledging that the red-green aggro deck in Historic, very, very strong. How do we weaken it? They're deciding to take away their super aggressive starts with Burning Tree Emissary. Some people say it should be Embercleave that should leave because it's very difficult to block this deck in the late game. Anytime that they can attack, I mean, you basically can't do anything. Some ways of tempoing them out is going for an attack, leaving some stuff on blocking defense to block their largest creature. You can't do that with Embercleave, but whatever. They're going to try with Burning Tree Emissary. Let's see how that works out. It's basically the Manamorphose of the deck, and spills out a bunch of creatures very fast in the early game. Now let's move on to Pioneer. Basically they didn't do anything. They unbanned, could you predict this? They unbanned Oath of Nissa. Whoever bet money on the unban of Oath of Nissa on this BNR announcement just made millions. They probably put down like $100, got $1 million to 1 on their money, and now they're a millionaire. So Oath of Nissa is unbanned, and the point is to give a shot in the arm to the mono green devotion decks. I don't even know how much this thing is even going to help. The combo decks are still aggressive combo decks. Like they can win on turns 3 to 4. It's the format is too oppressive right now. And even if you get like a mana dork out, I think most of these combo decks, like the inverter deck, can, for example, just fatal push the damn thing, slow the game down. Thoughtseize is the most important stuff. The point is, they did not change anything in Pioneer. Nothing's changed. Basically, it's the same format. You got the Heliod mono white devotion combo deck with Walking Ballista. You got the Inverter of Truth combo deck, and you also have the Lotus Breach combo deck. Nothing's different. It's just it's combo heaven. So if you love combo decks, oh my god, this is the format for you. But that's not the format for everyone. And I mean, people have voiced their concerns to me about Pioneer. I didn't even realize how bad it got. I just discovered just this morning that there are like 222 people in the league right now on Magic the Gathering Online. That's like a huge low from what I remember it being around in like 850s when Pioneer was, when there was a lot of hype for Pioneer. So I mean, it's getting crushed. It's absolutely getting crushed. And Wizards of the Coast excuse is that, the data says that the combo decks are not doing very well, and all the other fringe decks, they actually have really good win percentages against them. Well, that doesn't seem to matter. That doesn't seem to matter. Now, here's my opinion on this. Wizards of the Coast doesn't play this format. They're not playing the game. And if you do not play the game, you should not make decisions for the game. We saw that with Historic, when they banned Agent of Treachery. Oh, and by the way, Agent of Treachery, when they suspended Agent of Treachery, and Agent of Treachery just went from suspended to banned, what the hell's up with that? That card didn't even see play in Historic. The real problem was Winota. They prematurely banned this card for no fucking reason. Winota was the problem, and if they had played the format, they would know Winota was the problem. Any moron could tell them, ban Winota. Winota's the problem with the format. That's why they made the emergency ban, like 1 week later, to ban Winota. But you would know that if you played the game. If you just played the format, you could see that problem. And we are seeing the exact same situation coming right now. It's coming full circle again to Pioneer. They are not playing the format. They are making decisions for the format without actually playing it. That is bad. That, I think, is wrong. They should take a lot more, at least more opinions from the public about what's going on if they're not actually going to play the format. But now I think this sets the precedent that maybe we really should have, like how Commander has the rules committee, maybe we should have our own committees. Maybe Wizards of the Coast should look into that, because they're not policing these formats properly, or at least they're not doing it as nimble and quickly as we would like it to be. Pioneer has been gradually turning into nothing, apparently. And I'll admit, I didn't even notice that it was happening until they made the BNR announcement, and then everyone voiced their concerns. Hey, look, this format's dying, and it's dying quickly. Things aren't firing. Look at the leagues. 222 people currently in the league. That's nothing. That's pathetic. So if they're not playing the format, I don't think they should be making decisions for the format. What I really respect about the rules committee for EDH, for Commander, is that they are Commander players playing the format. They know they're in the trenches. They know what's right and wrong for the format. They can make the proper decisions. So, I mean, I don't know if we have to go down that road yet. Maybe since this BNR announcement, that Wizards will make an emergency BNR announcement very similar to what happened to Winota, because, I mean, that was very clearly the problem. Wizards had their head in the sand on that one. Maybe they'll make an emergency BNR announcement for Pioneer and make the appropriate changes, because it is keeping a lot of decks from ever existing. These combo decks also have people that just don't even enjoy the format when it's just all combo. Oh yeah, because you don't feel like your fate is in your hand. You feel like you're just up against a brick wall very often. I'll admit the inverter deck, there's some interaction. If you've got the interaction, you know, I play Spirits and Pioneer, I feel like I can interact, but not everyone has that sort of interaction. And especially against the Lotus Breach deck, feels like, I mean, you don't have any chance. It all comes down to, do they combo off or not? Can I race you? And I have to be a deck that races, or I need to have like 4 Damping Sphere in my sideboard, which doesn't even matter. They've got like plenty of like Artifact Hate, so it needs to be Damping Sphere plus a good clock. Do you have that clock? Not enough people do. So yeah, I think if you're making decisions for the format, you better be playing the format. And I think it's very clear now that Wizards is making decisions based solely on data and not on actually being part of the community, which is going to be very necessary, I think, when you're making these BNR announcements, making these banning decisions. All right, let's move on to Modern. Astrolabe got banned. Goodbye, Astrolabe. So I mean, it's funny. So many people were like, Uro has to be banned. Then there's another class of people that are like, Astrolabe has to be banned. But only one of them could be right, and it ended up being the Astrolabe camp. They got it right. Astrolabe was banned, and you know what? I actually think this was a really good, and you know what? Overall, I think this was a very good decision by Wizards of the Coast, and I think overall everyone's going to be very happy about this decision, because Astrolabe definitely facilitated green, you know, banned control. Not blue-white control, Bant control. Sultai control. It's finally a control deck that adds green in it. And a lot of other archetypes that could enable green, so that you can play with Uro and also with Veil of Summer. Two cards, you know, very hotly debated that we also could assume could have been banned at this BNR announcement. But they ended up just banning Astrolabe, but by banning Astrolabe, we're going to see less of Uro because the liability of playing a 3-color deck now is going to be very high, and we're also going to see less of Veil of Summer because there's going to be less people splashing green in their control decks or in any other deck for that matter. People are going to have to be careful because Blood Moon is back. Blood Moon is absolutely back, and any deck that can use Blood Moon, we're talking Blue Moon Control, we're talking Red Green Ponza, they made huge gains in this BNR announcement. They definitely were the huge winners they're the huge winners in Modern. And I would very easily say that Red Green Ponza is the deck to beat now in Modern. They are the strongest, most proactive deck that can use either Magus of the Moon or Blood Moon, and yeah, they're hands down the deck to beat. And of course, the losers here are going to be the 3-color decks that cannot use red mana. So I mean, you could still play Uro in your Bant control deck, but I can see from the past that control players would rather just reliably play a blue-white control deck where they fetch out their basics, they're not in so much danger against the Blood Moon, and I think that's exactly where they're going to go, and we're not going to be seeing Sultai or Bant nearly as much. I'm sure some people are going to go down that route, and we're also going to see the return of Stoneblade. Not that like Stoneblade, I would say Stoneforge Mystic is never like a super powerful card, not really dominating the metagame, but it definitely got pushed to the wayside when the Uro control decks came out. Because make no mistake, like some people like to correct me, Stoneblade is not a control deck, it is a mid-range deck. And like, yeah, sure, but it's got a lot of similarities, all right? There's a lot of overlap between, you know, what a control deck is doing and what the Stoneblade decks are doing. You could definitely put them in two different categories, but frankly, like, there's enough control in a Stoneblade deck that if there is a superior control deck like Uro, the Uro Bant or Sultai decks, that they're going to gravitate to them. Now, so yeah, Blood Moon definitely going to come back. We're going to see some Stoneforge Mystic back. And it's going to be interesting, actually, how the control decks are going to shake up, because there were some innovations over the last few months that never really caught the eye of the world because it was still overshadowed by the Uro control decks, the Snow control decks. Things like Counterbalance. So I don't know if anyone's aware, but there was like a pretty good combo discovered between Counterbalance and Mystic Sanctuary, which also a lot of people think should be banned. So the idea is you've got this Counterbalance out, and you use things like, I think, what is it, Oath of Thassa? I'll have the right card over here, but there's basically, you have ways of scrying cards to the top of your library to counter your opponent's spells when the Counterbalance triggers, but most importantly, you can fetch. You can fetch for Mystic Sanctuary and put the right card from your graveyard on top of your library to counter your opponent's spells. That's huge value. That's great value. And that was there are some 5/0s made with this sort of blue-white control archetype, and we might see a lot more of it going into the future now that Snow control is definitely out of the picture, or like is mostly out of the picture, and we're going to see some reversion back to blue-white control. So let's put some things out of the way. A lot of people are also saying that, oh, we can go back to our basic lands. Snow basics are banned. There's no snow basics are banned. Now we can play with our favorite lands, our favorite islands and swamps and forests. No. No. And I'll tell you why. Because, why did we play with the snow basics in the first place? It's because if you don't, you're already revealing information to your opponent that you're not a snow control deck, that you're not an Urza deck, for example. They're still going to be, so long as Icefang Quaddle is going to be a modern playable card, and I have every reason to believe that it still will, you're still going to have to play with snow basics, technically, if you want that strategic edge. And by the way, we already got a 5/0. F. Pavlush made a 5/0 with banned Stoneblade playing with Icefang Quaddle. So your snow basics still on the menu. Your favorite basic land's still jailed up, whether you like it or not. I mean, you can play with whatever you want, all right? You can play with whatever you want, but you're giving up that strategic edge, because if you play, for example, basic island, then you're telling your opponent already, I'm not playing Ice Vanquaddle in my deck. I'm probably not an Urza deck playing with Ice Vanquaddle. And certainly, I think the Urza decks are still going to be able to utilize Ice Vanquaddle pretty well. They can play Simic. They're probably going to still play Uro, so Uro is probably still going to be played in the metagame. And even though they don't have Arcum's Astrolabe, people have been saying, we could replace it with Chromatic Star, which is still an artifact that makes Emery cheaper, which can still be sacrificed to draw a card. So it could be something that could be looped very similarly to Mishra's Bauble with Emery. So I think Urza decks are going to have an easy adaptation, even though Astrolabe is banned. So, but it's going to be a Blood Moon format. And I'm just going to finish off saying, I didn't think the metagame was that bad or anything like that, and I think the people calling for Blood Moon to come back are just the people who want things to go back to how it used to be a long time ago. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's the best form, or how do I put it? I definitely think Blood Moon is inhibiting a lot of archetypes that could be. I don't think it's necessarily bad that we have Bant control and Sultai control. We saw archetypes that could exist only because Blood Moon could not exist, and it wasn't that bad. But anyway, Astrolabe is gone. That era is over. Blood Moon is coming back. And yeah, if you want to talk more about this stuff, don't forget, I'm a streamer. You want to talk Magic, go check out my streams in the description below. And how did this BNR announcement affect you? Good? Bad? What do you think? What do you think is the future of Modern and Pioneer? Let me know in the comments section below. This has been Nikachu, Merfolk Master, talking about the BNR announcement, where Astrolabe got its ass kicked.